Greetings everyone, it's Adam, Eddie Rata Non Grata, and in a little bit of a hiatus there. This is my primary channel where I do stuff that's usually arcade heroes, but got some NUON news. It's been a little while since we've had that. I mean, really over the years there hasn't been a ton of NUON stuff to discuss just because it's a console DVD player slash console that just never got a really good shake on the market. Very, very few games, under 10 games, were released during its lifetime. Over the years, I know there have been a couple of releases, but really I can only remember one homebrew game that, in thinking about it, I can't even remember its name. It was not quite like Gravatar, but it was, I guess, kind of in the same genre as Gravatar, is in dealing with gravity and you're controlling a spaceship and you'd have to... Decaying Orbit, that's what it was. But that came out a few years after the NUON had died its sad death there. But as we see from this tweet, or this X, whatever, on from Songbird Productions, there is a new game, and this was published on Sunday, and I'll show you here in a minute a little bit of footage. But Ring Flyer, as it's called, have pre-orders now open, and or it says pre-orders open by the end of September, and it's the first new release for the NUON DVD on factory press DVDs in over 20 years. And so I don't think Decaying Orbit had ever been pressed to DVDs, and again, there might have been a couple of other NUON homebrews, but nothing that was given something like this. And so, as you can see from the photo there, the disc itself basically shows you what the gameplay is like. But even better than that is to actually see the gameplay in action. And so here we have a little bit of teaser footage from Songbird, and this is mentioning there was a time extension article that brought this up, and that this was back on August 16th, and I guess I hadn't been following Songbird. I thought I had been, and that's where I had missed this to mention it earlier, but this is what it looks like. So obviously not pushing the NUON to its limits or anything. In a way, it looks almost more like an Atari Jaguar game. In fact, those rings look like they're straight out of Tempest 2000. But you know, when it's a homebrew game as opposed to a something done by a big pro studio, you can give them leeway on that, especially where I'm curious to find out where the what they used to code it, if they had a NUON dev kit or if there's some other method that they used for getting this done. And I wouldn't be surprised, because I know with certain NUON dev kits there were a lot of limitations. Like if you come across the next Tetris on NUON, which I have a copy here, I mean, it looks like trash, but that was because the dev kit that the developers were given was trash, and it didn't even support 2 players at the time when they were given it, and it doesn't have backgrounds and stuff. And so could be there's the limitations of whatever development connection that the programmer had, or I don't know much about the programmer. I saw that it's Cubanismo, which I've seen post on Atari Age before, but I guess I didn't realize that he was a programmer. But still, I think it's exciting to have something coming for the NUON. I imagine if this does well, then we could see more. As I mentioned on my video about the Atari Jaguar 2, I really think that the NUON's probably the most comparable as far as to what the Jaguar 2 would have been like, either the Sega Model 2 arcade hardware or the NUON. And of course the NUON is a good match just because it was designed by the same people who worked on the Jaguar, like literally worked on the hardware. And so, but again, since the machine never had more than 10 games made for it, we never really got to see its full limits. And I have wondered over the years, I remember back during the hype days when it was called Project X, that there was talk about, oh, we can port just about anything to the NUON, and very quickly. There was the Doom demo, the unoptimized demo as they called it, which I think is on a NUON demo disc that I have. That was supposedly done in a weekend, and I remember many times coming across the statement, although I never saw any evidence to back this up, that they could port PlayStation 1 or Dreamcast games within 6 to 8 weeks to the platform. Again, no clue if that was just, VM Labs huffing their own farts, or if it was actually true, because we never saw any evidence of it. Now, maybe Iron Soldier 3 might have been, but I've never seen any statements if they started on the PlayStation version first and then ported it over to the NUON, or if they had started on the NUON first. As I recall, the first photos of Iron Soldier 3 were from the NUON version. But again, I'd have to run into somebody from Eclipse and ask them if that was the case or not. Because, I mean, if it is the case, then it's like that should open the doors to a lot more ports to the NUON from existing content. Or, again, it was supposed to be easy to program for, or easier to program for than the Jaguar was. But since we never saw that backed up with evidence, who knows if that was the case or not. But what do you think about this one? If you have a NUON, are you interested in getting it? And even if the gameplay doesn't look super intense, I mean, maybe there is a level later on. This is a GIF instead of a video. So maybe, GIFs usually reduce the frame rate, and so perhaps this runs at, say, 60 frames a second and moves along a lot faster than what we see here, or maybe this is just the very first level and then it speeds up later on, just like Tempest 2000 did that on the bonus level. I would like to support this and get a little more use out of my NUONs, which have been sitting here collecting dust, because I have two of them, the Xtiva N2000 and the N501, both by Samsung. Let me know what you think about this one, and if you'd like to see more NUON game developments come along. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next video, whenever that is.